Hi there, Mark Jabin here, Medical Director for the Haywood County Health Department, and let's talk about this pandemic. Now, you've heard me talk before about the importance of not being in close contact. And in today's video, what happens when a person gets infected and doesn't isolate themselves? And what happens when that person is you? And just to be clear, this is not a story about me, but it could be a story about any one of us. So here we go. A person works in multiple offices around the region. One day they begin to have some head congestion, and the next day they start to feel a bit fatigued. And the day after that, they lose their sense of taste and smell, all the while still going to the office day after day. At this point, the symptoms have grabbed their attention, and they decide to get tested, but continue going to the office while waiting for results. Now, to be fair, masks are being worn most of the time, and interactions are mostly time limited, but not all, and especially not at home. The symptoms resolve, and 3 days later, after another full week at work, that test result returns positive. By now, our person has been 10 days since symptoms started. They have no fever and their symptoms are gone. So our person is no longer contagious and is released. But what about their family, who are still on a 14-day quarantine? And in just one county alone, there are 46 people who came into contact, 18 of whom meet the criteria for being a close contact and are now in their 14 days of quarantine. And those numbers, if you add up all the other counties, are well more than that. So we still don't know the full impact because we don't yet have the results from all the people who were tested, and we still don't know how many will get sick. All from one person. And interestingly, it's unclear where they got the virus, but in retrospect, they have an idea. So what if, after even that possible exposure, our friend had taken it upon themselves to, if not quarantine, then at least be super careful about being in close contact to anyone? No one else would have been put at risk. And if not, what if our friend had at least isolated as soon as they got sick, especially once taste and smell was lost? Well, they would still have been out and about, spreading the virus the 2 days before their symptoms started, and for the couple of days they had symptoms. But they would not have exposed all the many more customers and staff by continuing at work. And what if, once they were tested, they had isolated? How many others would have been spared an exposure, especially those older and in a high-risk group? What if those now having to quarantine had just avoided being in close contact and had not gotten caught up in the web of isolation, quarantine, and testing? What if they had insisted that those they came into contact with at the place of business had been wearing their mask each and every time? So think about each missed opportunity to stop the spread in this story. And not that this is the only one of these stories. We saw it this week in local government. Staff mingling and not avoiding being in close contact. Many not heeding the advice to wear a mask in meetings, in offices, even though this was the policy. One staff person who got exposed elsewhere was sick, roaming around the building, no mask. Now, a staff shortage with all the employees sick and having to quarantine. So what will you do if you have a possible exposure? I hope quarantine, or at least be super careful. What will you do if you get symptoms, or while waiting on a test result? I certainly hope you will remain isolated. And what if you don't even know you are around someone who's pre-symptomatic in the 2 days or so before even being able to know? Well, I hope you will avoid being in close contact and keep anyone else from being in close contact with you. Avoid being within 6 feet for more than 15 minutes without a face covering. And use good hand hygiene. Because our friend in this story could well be you. So be well and be careful, especially right now.